So we're looking at a stack of spec sheets today and a really specific mission. We're talking about solving the last mile problem in modern audio.
Right.
You know that feeling? You've got this beautiful high-speed digital network, Dante audio, just flying around the building on Ethernet, and then you hit a wall, or maybe the ceiling.
You do. You're staring up at these, well, dumb analog speakers, amplifiers that have no idea what a digital network even is. It's the classic bottleneck.
It is. You've got this Ferrari engine of a network, but you're trying to put that power into, what, a horse and buggy?
That's a great way to put it.
You need a way to get that digital signal onto a physical wire without, ruining the quality. And importantly, without installing some giant rack unit just for two speakers in a hallway.
And that brings us right to our focus today.
Exactly. The Kramer FC-101Net. I'm looking at the dimensions here, and calling it a component almost feels like an exaggeration. It's tiny.
Pico tool is what they call it. It's about the size of a deck of cards, maybe 6 by 5 centimeters. But you can't let that small footprint fool you. The point isn't size, it's translation.
A bridge.
It's a dedicated bridge between your Dante network and that analog world.
Okay, so let's walk through the signal path mechanically. I see the RJ45 port for the network, but what's actually happening inside the box?
Well, it acts as a 2-channel Dante decoder. You plug in your Ethernet cable, which is carrying that digital audio stream.
Right.
The FC101Net then grabs up to 2 channels from that stream, decodes them, and then pushes them out the other side on a 5-pin terminal block.
Which would give us 2 balanced mono signals, or I guess 1 stereo signal, depending on how it's wired.
Precisely. And that is so key for retrofitting. Let's say you have a client with perfectly good, expensive analog amps from 10 years ago.
They don't want to replace them.
Of course not. So you just slap this little decoder next to the old amp, patch in the terminal block, and suddenly that legacy gear is now a node on your smart network.
So it's an adapter for relevance, really. But I saw something in the control specs that stood out. These little breakout boxes are usually just set and forget. This one seems to have active management.
Oh, that's a huge differentiator. It's not just a passive pipe. It sits on the network, so you can manage it through the Dante IP control matrix. But more importantly, it supports Kramer Protocol 3000.
Over RS-232.
Mm-hmm.
So I can control the output volume remotely.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to the tech inside. You might see 32-bit DAC on the spec sheet and think it's just marketing fluff. I mean, who needs 32-bit audio for a ceiling speaker?
I was just about to ask that. It does sound like overkill.
Yeah.
But reading the notes, this connects back to the volume control, doesn't it?
It does. It's not about raw fidelity so much as it is about headroom. When you lower volume digitally, you're basically reducing the bit depth of your signal.
Okay.
So if you start with, say, 24-bit audio and you attenuate it a lot, you can start to hear noise, quantization error.
Ah, so the 32-bit architecture just gives you enough room to lower the volume without crushing the signal quality.
Spot on. It keeps that noise floor way, way down, even at low volumes. Plus, it gives you better tolerance to clock jitter. That studio-grade label means it'll handle up to 96 kilohertz sampling rates and keep the output clean.
That makes the design make more sense, too. It's built like a tank. Aluminum housing, fanless.
Convection cooling,
Yeah.
which is critical for where these things end up. They get stuffed in a plenum or Velcroed under a conference table. You can't have a fan whirring away during a quiet meeting.
Right, and I don't see a power brick, so I'm assuming it's a PoE acceptor.
It is. Pulls 48 volts DC right from the network switch.
That's a lifesaver for installation. No more hunting for an outlet in the ceiling. One Ethernet cable handles data and the juice.
A very clean install. But we should probably talk about the cost. We're looking at around, what, $440 a unit?
Which sounds steep if you're comparing it to, like, a consumer Bluetooth dongle. But this is professional infrastructure.
You're paying for reliability. It's rated for 0 to 40 degrees Celsius. When you shove electronics into a hot ceiling void, you need to know it's going to survive.
So the takeaway for you listening is pretty clear. If you're staring at a dumb amp and wishing it was smart, you don't always have to replace it.
You just need a good translator, one that speaks fluent Dante. It really shows that modernizing isn't always about ripping everything out. Sometimes it's just about the right interface.
It really makes you wonder, the next time you're in a hotel lobby and you hear that perfectly leveled background music, just look up at the ceiling. Is that a brand new smart system? Or is it just a really smart little box doing all the thinking for some heavy iron from the 90s? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.